Barbados, or Barbatos. From the DC universe, Barbatos, aka the Hyper-Adapter, is a bat-like cosmic being that often appears in the form of a bat-like demon that can traverse time and space freely. But in the new 52, the character is reimagined as the god of the dark multiverse and the first incarnation of Batman. Yes, you heard it right, this super evil demon god is actually known to have taken the form of a bat in Wayne Manor, which Bruce takes as a sign from his late father to commit to the Batman mantle. I don't know why he does this though, because Batman then commits his whole life to fending off evil forces. It's sort of a trade-off, because although Batman goes on to become, well, Batman, Barbatos ends up using the hero as a portal to the multiverse, and starts work on assembling his own roster of evil Batmen, called the Dark Knights. This would include Batman Who Laughs, among others.
Number 9. Parallax. Parallax isn't technically or officially a god, but they are one of the manifestations of the emotions of the color spectrum, an avatar and physical manifestation of fear, what the color yellow represents and embodies, at least over at DC Comics. And they are also a cosmic entity who is super ancient and powerful, so I think in regards to Green Lantern lore and importance, we can put them on god level. Parallax was the one responsible for taking over Green Lantern Hal Jordan, feeding on his own fear and insecurities over the years. In fact, the graying of his hair at his temples was later pointed out as an indicator of Parallax's growing strength. Fun fact. At least that's how some people saw it. Could also just be Hal getting older, really. Parallax took over Hal, becoming one with him, and causing Jordan to give up his Green Lantern mantle, and be known simply as Parallax. As Parallax, Hal Jordan threatened the entire universe and destroyed the Green Lantern Corps and their major battery, which is pretty villainous and powerful stuff.
Null, the original creator of the symbiotes and eldritch god of darkness. Null is a very powerful and very old villain. He is first awakened when Celestials invade his kingdom, and he decides it is time to create his first symbiote. His first creation comes in the form of a sword, which he uses to decapitate a Celestial. This is his first big demonstration of power, and it's quite something. He then decides to branch out and expand his venture of creating symbiotes to take over all of the good in the cosmos. And he does this by creating what's known as a hive mind center with himself as the nexus, meaning he'll have control over any and all symbiotes that are controlled through the hive. His army then really starts coming together with draconic monsters, anamorphic creatures, and shadow men, all under his control and dedicated to satiating his evil hunger for life. Luckily though, Null eventually finds himself disintegrated in the center of the sun. But that's a huge fast forward I did there. This villain god does some serious damage to the greater good of life in the cosmos before he's finally taken out.
And at 7, Weather Wizard. Meteorological madman known as the Weather Wizard was a menace to both Barry Allen and Wally West's Flash, and one of the most overpowered supercriminals they've ever faced. First appearing in 1959's The Flash number 110, criminal Mark Martin armed himself with the Weather Wand, an advanced piece of technology which could control like atoms in the universe, some form of energy, okay? Martin took the wand from his deceased brother, a scientist who never intended it to leave his lab. With some modifications, it became a deadly weapon for the criminal, and at full power, the wand could summon lightning storms, rain clouds, or change the weather entirely. Whatever the weather was, Martin could use his mighty powers to rob banks and cause mass panic. A later reimagining of the Weather Wizard would see him instead granted the metahuman ability to control the elements without using the wand. And the Weather Wizard also appeared in the CW's Flash TV show as one of the many metahumans created by the particle accelerator explosion which gave Barry Allen his powers. However, on the show there are 2 versions, one of them appearing in the first episode which Joe West killed, and the second appearing in the 16th episode of that season, with the second one being the first's older brother, the Martin brothers, Clyde being the first one, and Mark being the second and the proper Weather Wizard. As Cisco said, he's been waiting to use that name since day one.
Mephisto. This guy is known as an extra-dimensional demon who takes on the likeness of a traditional devil from the Christian religion, and he resides in a place he calls Hell, or Hades, but he isn't actually Satan, and his homeworld isn't actually hell as we know it. He uses these terms in an effort to exploit the constructs of fear and evil that humans have instilled into our culture. Although he does have ties to the original story of Adam and Eve in the form of the snake in that tale, so I don't know, seems kinda Satan-y to me. But his origins are widely understood to be unknown, and one of the only theories comes from the story of Nemesis. This being was born at the beginning of time and tried to create other beings in the likeness of his own immense power, but accidentally created a bunch of demons. And as you guessed it, Mephisto is one of these demons. Nemesis then ends his own life and becomes the Infinity Stones. That's just a side bit of lore for you, in case you didn't know. But thank God the Infinity Stones are banned for demons, because if Mephisto got his hands on those, it'd be all over.
Halfway through into number 5, Joker's daughter. Unfortunately, it's not the Joker's biological daughter. That would have been an interesting story. This is just a girl who finds Joker's face, stitches it onto hers, and then goes berserk. So honestly, it could very well be his biological daughter. The only person that I think would commit such an atrocious act is in fact the Joker, so who knows. While maybe not being as prolific or accomplished as the Joker, Joker's daughter is definitely insane enough for this list. Like, even if I'm pretty sure like a lot of people know she exists and like not many people underestimate her, but hey, look, even if one person underestimates her and they watch this video, boom, it's enough. It counts. Okay? Not to mention the fact that she also went by Catgirl, Scarecrow, Riddler's daughter, Penguin's daughter, Card Queen, and Harley Quinn. Each incarnation also calling herself the respected super person's daughter, which I have to say is going to make a family reunion real awkward. But in actuality, she ended up being Dwella Dent, Two-Face's daughter, apparently, which is seemingly BS in my opinion, but we love a girl with a little flair, you know? And that flair will cause her to ruin Gotham City.
CHTHON is one of the original Elder Gods that inhabited Earth billions of years ago. Over time, CHTHON becomes the first black magician on Earth after studying the mystical forces of the universe. Unfortunately, about 1 billion years ago, these Elder Gods that CHTHON was a part of degenerate and start turning into demons, CHTHON included. Luckily, one of them, Gaia, avoids this transformation and keeps her pure form, giving birth to Adam, who makes it their duty to slay these demons. But CHTHON avoids the God Eater and escapes by creating another dimension known as the Flickering Realms. CHTHON's writings are left on Earth in the form of scrolls, which are eventually bound together into the Darkhold. So his influence continuously finds its way back to Earth despite his banishment to this new dimension. He even possesses Modred and eventually Scarlet Witch for a time to keep pushing his evil magic agenda on his original home of Earth.
Getting close to the end, in number 3, the Shade. This Golden Age Flash foe is one of the most powerful and most terrifying, but he isn't always on the side of evil, luckily. First appearing in Flash Comics number 33 from 1942, this immortal conduit for dark energy was a formidable enemy for Jay Garrick and often caused problems, the speedster, with his weaponized shadows. Kind of like my demons, causing me all kinds of problems as well. Initially depicted as a common criminal for the Flash to stop from robbing banks and menacing Keystone City in the 40s, the Shade was eventually reimagined as something much more sinister. Originally possessing a magic cane allowing him to control darkness, the revamped 90s Shade was given a real identity of Richard Swift and an endless supply of supernatural abilities. Returning to menace the hero Starman and eventually becoming his ally, the Shade used his powers of shadow manipulation, time travel, teleportation, and intangibility for both good and evil. The Shade also had his own dimension, the Shadowlands, where unwitting enemies would become trapped. And I think that having his own dimension earns him a spot in the top 3. Just saying.
Anti-Monitor. We all know this guy. He's a real thorn in the side of everything good in the universe. He's also another one of those characters that finds his origins at the very dawn of time. Okay, so he's not around since day 1, but almost. He's first created as the result of a conflict on the ancient planet of Oa, during which the inhabitants fight it out over the decision of whether to destroy all of the evil in the universe or only some of it. It's crazy how petty wars can be, eh? Even in the ancient cosmos. Anyway, the bad guys go to a dimension called Cord, where Anti-Monitor is birthed. In the positive matter universe, the Monitor is also created, the counterpart to Anti-Monitor as you can tell, and you best believe those two end up fighting. But it's no normal war. They battle it out for 1 million years, and I'll save you a million years and skip to the end, it ends in a tie. They both go unconscious and hibernate for 9 billion more years. Of course, this is just the beginning. Anti-Monitor comes in and out of pretty much every DC character's story at one point or another as a major threat, and I'm sure you can guess why.
Number 1, the one below all. Probably one of the most powerful of all gods in the Marvel Universe. Definitely the most powerful god I would say, on this list. The one below all is the dark counterpart to the one above all, which is seen as the creator of all the Marvel Universe and multiverse besides, one of the most powerful beings of goodness in the whole of Marvel Comics. Likewise, the one below all is therefore one of the most powerful beings of evil. They are typically connected to gamma mutates, and can control and manipulate those who have been mutated by gamma radiation. The crazy thing is that without the one below all, we actually can't have the one above, and vice versa. One cannot exist without the other, and so with them both comes a whole lot of bad and a whole lot of good.
It's 10th Birthday Boy. Ray Salinger was a serial killer who operated in Gotham under the alias Birthday Boy, and he was actually the first costumed criminal encountered by Batman in his crime-fighting career. Introduced in Batman Earth 1 Volume 1 in June 2012, Birthday Boy is fascinated by young girls resembling his first kill. When in his killer mode, he wears a burlap sack with holes cut out for the eyes and a birthday party hat, usually in a room decorated like a birthday party. As a calling card, he left birthday candles where he stole away his victims and told his victims to make a wish that was decorated with the words "Happy Birthday Amanda," which is only creepier since we have Amanda here. And I feel like this guy is a representation of all of her DMs. That's right, I'm calling all of you nerds out. I think the sickest part of this character though was when he first started the whole Birthday Boy thing. He had been hired by Mayor Oswald Cobblepot to eliminate various enemies. In return, he was given girls from the streets or enemies of the Penguin as a reward. And at 9, Professor Pig. Professor Pig originally debuted in the alternate reality story of Batman number 666, which I love. He also debuted as a corpse, which I love even more. However, he was introduced as a recurring character in 2009 in Batman and Robin number 1. In Batman Reborn, Laszlo Valentine was an extreme circus mob boss until something turned him into Professor Pig, leading him to begin funding his scientific experiments by selling narcotics to the criminal underworld. All in all, he's an extremely disturbing villain, and that makes me think about why people aren't afraid of pigs as much as they are clowns, because if you ask me, this guy is freaking horrifying, okay? Professor Pig, if you couldn't tell, actually wears a pig mask, along with a butcher's apron, and what at times appears to be some form of hastily thrown together surgical outfit, like he got it from like Wish. Or he got it from like Party City. It's freaking weird. Also ends up brainwashing and controlling various people who he calls his Dolotrons. Like, I don't know what else there is to do other than just run away, so I'm gonna move on now. Although next time I have a pet pig in Minecraft, I know what I'm naming him. And at 8, BOOTFACE. Okay, this guy's origin is the reason I wanted to talk about him. This guy's origin was simply him getting kicked in the face by Batman, and that's it, I'm not even kidding. BOOTFACE was a thug working for Terminus. He got his name because of a boot imprint embedded into his face, which, like I said, is from Batman. BOOTFACE first appeared in Batman and Robin Volume 2 number 10 from 2012, and honestly, it's one of the most interesting origins I've ever seen. And I mean this completely seriously. Everyone else has like a parent die, or was living in poverty, or was being abused. This dude just got kicked in the face and got so mad about it he became a supervillain. Even if he wasn't really like a good person beforehand, I mean, like, he was a thug and basically still is, but like still, just this time he has a ridiculous name to go with it, but hey, I still love it. And a man who is fueled by pure rage because he was permanently scarred by his attacker that ends up being a superhero, that's good enough for me. That's so funny. BOOTFACE.
Number 7, Khonshu. Khonshu is an inherently an evil god when it comes to actual Egyptian mythology, just to be clear. And even in the world of Marvel, he's actually done a lot of good. But he's also done some pretty shady things. Especially recently, he's done some pretty shady things. During the Age of Khonshu event in the Avengers series, Khonshu actually used his avatar Moon Knight, aka Mark Spector, known as the Fist of Khonshu, to help him defeat Mephisto. Now, while this sounds like a good thing, since when it comes to Marvel's gods, Mephisto, being like Marvel's devil or Satan, is kinda one of the worst of the worst, it turned out to not be so good after it was revealed that Khonshu planned on taking over the Earth and turning it into his own Egyptian underworld. This revelation caused Moon Knight to turn on his god, and as Khonshu often likes to remind us, his father, teaming up with the Avengers to take him down. Following this, Khonshu would actually become imprisoned in the dungeons of Asgard, and while he can still visit Moon Knight via visions, he can no longer be physically present on Earth while imprisoned.
Speaking of which, in its 6th, Condiment King. The Condiment King, created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini for Batman the Animated Series, is a villain who makes use of various condiments, sometimes capable of causing anaphylactic shock, and his weapons are literally like those like squeeze tubes for like ketchup and mustard, just on guns. It's hilarious. hilarious. He's generally used as comic relief within the series, but still. He would make many condiment-based puns. For example, the big bad bat guy, I knew you'd catch up to me sooner. How I relished this meeting. You, the dynamic Dark Knight, versus me, the conceptual Condiment King. Come, Batman, let's see if you can cut the mustard. The Condiment King is seemingly killed after being betrayed and bludgeoned by the Human Flame with his own ketchup and mustard guns in the miniseries Final Crisis Aftermath Run, which is a comic book, which already shows how he can actually be deadly aside from the whole like anaphylactic shock thing. And that's again not taking into account any potential allergic reactions that he can trigger or blindness. I mean, like, ketchup and mustard are very acidic and can cause some serious damage if left unchecked. It just goes right into the eyes, you know? Plus, what if you have fries and he gives you mustard, okay? The only appropriate punishment for that is death. Halfway through into number 5, Savitar. The fact that Barry Allen was able to just beat this whole Savitar thing from The Flash Season 3 will always escape me. I won't really ever understand how they actually ended up defeating a literal version of Barry from the future. Like, I get how they managed to do it, but it was still incredibly unrealistic, since technically Savitar would have known beforehand that the timeline was changing, since technically that should, in my brain, at least be how time travel works, but this ended up being how it works in the show, so that's fine, I guess. I don't see how it ever would have been possible to defeat a future version of the Flash without this though, but I know that he couldn't really die, since if he died, Savitar wouldn't be able to happen. A future version of the Flash is always going to be mega OP, okay? I said it. In it for Clock King. Born William Talkman, Clock King spends his early years taking care of his invalid sister. One day he finds out from a doctor that he himself only has 6 months to live. Great. Despairing for his sister's future, he watches the timing of a local bank's vault in order to rob it, hoping that the money would provide for his sister after he was gone. His caper would have gone on successfully had he not tripped the silent alarm and been caught by the Green Arrow. The Clock King then goes on to join Major Disasters in Justice League, which becomes the Justice League Antarctica. This JLA includes G-Nort, who ends up saving the lives of the entire team. The original Clock King had no metahuman powers or abilities, although he is athletic and extraordinarily smart. He extensively uses clocks and time-related gimmicks to devastating effect. His primary weapon is a sword forged into the shape of a clock's hand that also doubles as a walking stick. And his skill in swordsmanship is such that even Batman himself could not defeat him in single combat. So watch out for Clock King.
Number 3, Darkseid. Another guy that doesn't know how to chill. Even though Perpetua can literally bend reality to her whim, Darkseid is constantly in the DC universe, which means he basically has to always exist. You can't ever really defeat him because Darkseid is. What is Darkseid? No, he just is. Every time I say this in a video, I'm like, it sounds so confusing, and I feel like anyways, I'm gonna explain it to you right now. Darkseid is a short phrase that implies that Darkseid will always exist. This also extends to the idea of what Darkseid represents. The phrase was actually introduced by Grant Morrison, and to me it has always embodied the idea that Darkseid is more than just the being. He's the feeling, the fear, the destruction, and in some cases, the oppression that Darkseid represents. Even without Darkseid, those things still exist, and so in a way he can never really be gone. But also you can interpret this phrase more literally, as after all, Perpetua may have been a powerhouse, but she's gone now, while Darkseid still is.
Penultimately in at number 2, Lex Joker. Lex Joker was created when John Dee, also known as Dr. Destiny, collapsed the DC universe in half. First appearing in Superman Batman number 60 in 2009, Lex Joker is the combination of, you guessed it, Lex Luthor and Joker. Lex Joker hired Doomstroke and Terranado to destroy the Justice Titans. However, after the JTs allied with Batman and Superman, he hired 4 more mercenaries to create the Brotherhood of Injustice. Thanks to Terra, who had gone undercover with the JTs, they were able to attack the Justice Tower. And come on, let's be honest, if you have the brains of Lex Luthor and the complete insanity of the Joker, you're making one heck of an opponent. When you have 2 powerful forces in comics, at some point there's bound to be a mashup of the 2 to create a larger, even more powerful villain. And Lex Joker is probably the scariest combination we could have gotten that wasn't like Joker and Doomsday or Joker and Darkseid. Oh god, Joker Darkseid. And finally, in at number 1, the Eraser. The Eraser was the chosen alias of Lenny Fiasco, who turned to crime after living his college days under constant mocking and taunting by his classmates. Of course, it's because that's what college is like. No, that's high school, bro. Fiasco is a professional at covering the tracks of other crimes. For a 20% cut, the Eraser will erase the evidence of another crime. And honestly, I think that it's like the only job that anyone with the name Fiasco could have. The villain's power is a special helmet designed to look like a pencil eraser, because of course it is, that can wipe off evidence, even those that would be invisible to the naked eye, which is pretty damn cool when you think about it. After Batman posed as a villain to try to capture the Eraser, the villain told Bruce that he had become a criminal because Bruce had shattered his dreams of going out with Celia Smith. I'm not even gonna get into that, okay? Bruce didn't even remember her name, which made the Eraser angry. And I think that this is probably the absolute coolest concept for a supervillain, because in all honesty, if this guy wasn't an idiot, he could have ruled the world. Like, just straight up, this guy would absolutely ruin any and all investigations and then turn the tides of trials. This guy could have ended up being just like a shadow government in himself, okay? If only he wasn't just a dumbass. In at 10, Rainbow Raider. The reason that all the good guys are good is because of their morals. Because they channel their anger into something positive. Because they can control themselves. But what happens when a hero with powers like Superman is filled with a red-hot rage? Well, we saw it in Injustice. But someone able to cause those emotions, that person being Rainbow Raider, makes them pretty damn powerful. Rainbow Raider's power is derived entirely from their special goggles, okay? Which allows him to project solid beams of rainbow-colored light that he can either use offensively or as a slide for travel, and he can also coat people in certain colors of light to induce emotions, like blue for sadness, red for anger. There's also the Rainbow Raiders, a team of super color-themed villains that also have powers based on the color of the rainbow. However, just the ability to induce emotion by covering someone in light is enough to make Roy G. Bigelow pretty damn powerful. If all my rage came out and I had super speed, damn, people would have to like hide in fear, but it wouldn't matter because I would find them. And at 9, Zoom. I included a CW character on this list specifically for the guy in my DMs who told me to stop doing it. The CW version of Zoom was not exactly what everyone was expecting, although you have to admit he is one of the best and scariest villains in the Arrowverse to date. The sheer demonic look he had, especially with the suit, shook even me. However, thanks to the Velocity 9 that he was taking, Hunter Zolomon was incredibly fast, the fastest we had ever seen at that point. So fast even that in order to fight him, Barry had to take speed out of the equation. And during the final fight, Barry had to create a time remnant because he wasn't fast enough to stop Zoom with only one of him. It only got worse after Zoom kidnapped Wally and Barry had to give Zoom his speed in order to get Wally back. This only made Zoom faster. It gets even worse when in the final fight the Time Wraiths come out of the Speed Force and take Zoom, which changes him into the Black Flash, and then he gets supercharged by the Speed Force to become the living embodiment of death for all speedsters. Plus, I mean, this guy was able to create breaches at will to bring hundreds of metahumans over to Earth 1. That's pretty damn impressive. And at 8, Johnny Quick. Johnny Allen, alias Johnny Quick, is a criminal speedster from Earth 3. Together with his girlfriend and partner in crime Atomica, he was a member of the crime syndicate. Johnny Allen was a high-profile criminal, on the run with his equally criminal girlfriend. Cornered on the roof of Central City's Star Labs, Allen was struck by a bolt of lightning which shattered the roof. The duo fell into the lab space below, with Allen landing amid the chemicals that gave, presumably, Earth 1 Barry his speed. Something in this incident, probably the chemicals, granted him his super speed, and he went on to become a super criminal alongside his girlfriend, who had also been given powers. While his girlfriend took on the name Atomica, he took on the name Johnny Quick. The couple joined the crime syndicate at some point after this, and they ran through Central City, answering to no one, until one day the White House burned, around the time of Darkseid's incursion onto Earth Prime. The being that had destroyed Ultraman's Krypton came to Earth, and an alliance of supercriminals formed to find a way to safety. So yeah, it's basically just Barry Allen, but Earth 3. I say that's pretty overpowered. And at 7, Mirror Man. Lloyd Ventures is a criminal who was detained in Gotham State Penitentiary. Using broken mirror shards, he distracts the guards long enough to escape from prison. Inspired by mirrors, I guess somehow, he becomes Mirror Man. Upon creating a machine that would enable him to see through objects, Mirror Man began targeting Batman so that he could find out his secret identity. He literally discovers Batman's identity as Bruce Wayne by using a X-ray mirror, which is freaking nuts. Like, what even is that? How is that a thing? Mirror Man actually gets sent to prison before he can reveal the identity though, but because they want conflict, of course, he manages to escape, with a plan to reveal Bruce's identity to the world, only foiled when Alfred, dressed as Batman, interrupts a press conference that Bruce Wayne was hosting, instantly disproving the fact that Batman is Bruce Wayne, because you saw them both in the same room. even though that obviously Batman has partners. I don't know why people believe that. The public should have seen through this, okay? The people in Gotham City are dumber than we thought. I mean, they had Condiment King, so I guess they are dumb. And at 6, Gorilla Grodd. Gorilla Grodd is a Flash rogue from Africa's Gorilla City. The original Grodd, which debuted in DC Comics in 1959, was a telepath who could control other animals and also had a form of mind control as well over humans. In the New 52, all inhabitants of Gorilla City had accelerated mental attributes due to the Speed Force, but Grodd was still the superior member of the species. On The Flash in the CW, Grodd was a very intelligent gorilla experimented on at Star Labs to try and create a super soldier for the US government. However, the torture and unethical treatment of the gorilla caused him to grow angry and evil, and he escaped seeking vengeance. Grodd had powerful mind control powers on top of superhuman strength and enhanced intellect, and at one point even combined with the Flash to be a psychopathic, telepathic gorilla with super speed. So I think it's safe to say that we should all be scared of Gorilla Grodd. Plus, his pop figure is pretty damn cool.
Number 5, Perpetua. I kind of feel bad actually that Perpetua is only like halfway up this list, but that's alright. She had her time in the sun. It has come to a close. Perpetua has to be one of the most powerful godlike beings in all of DC Comics. She basically sought to take over and destroy all of the multiverse so that she might rebuild it in her own image, but was stopped by her children and trapped in the Source Wall. By the way, one of her children is also on this list. See if you can figure out who it is. Later on, she teamed up with the Batman Who Laughs to get free, but ended up being double-crossed by him, tricked out of her own reality-shattering power. Still, the power was originally hers, and she was trapped in the Source Wall because there was nowhere else strong enough to hold her originally. Perpetua's only downside as a being who can bend reality and even life and death to her whim is that she relies on crisis energy to fuel her immense power, which is how the Batman Who Laughs was able to steal her power from her. He was like, I'm gonna take that crisis energy. Gulp. Yum.
In at 4, Mirror Master. While Mirror Master never seemed like much more than a B-grade supervillain in Flash's Rogues Gallery, his power has made him so much more. Before he became a Flash version, the second Mirror Master, Evan McCulloch, was an assassin in Scotland and was already a formidable foe. However, once he got his mirror gun, he became insanely powerful. The mirror gun gives Mirror Master the ability to travel to an alternate dimension by entering and exiting any reflective surface. On top of being a significant pain in the Flash's side, Mirror Master has also fought Animal Man and was someone that gave him all he could handle. The CW used the Sam Scudder version, and he was only a minor villain, and then they kinda did Eva McCulloch for season 7, but honestly, even Sam being able to travel through mirrors like that, trapping the Flash in the mirror dimension for a time, this guy is certainly underestimated. Although I hope that they find a way to explore maybe some of his abilities in later comics or even the show. I'd like to see that. Getting close to the end in number 3, the Calculator. While the Calculator now seems to be an oracle of sorts for supervillains, the original purpose and MO of the Calculator is far more entertaining and interesting, at least to me. Noah Cutler began his criminal career by crossing the country and getting into fights with various superheroes on purpose, analyzing and recording their battle tactics to ensure that he couldn't be beaten again. Or in some incarnations, he would simply get beaten and then press a button on his chest to ensure that he didn't get beat again. Maybe that was like taking in the information or something, like how Iron Man would just say like analyze his fight patterns and then come up with countermeasures, you know? But either way, okay, do you know how insanely overpowered that could have been? Just being able to like press a button and then boom, you're instantly basically immune to Batman or Robin or even Superman. Like that would be absolutely amazing. You do this enough times and you can just do whatever you want. And like then other criminals like start paying you to do their crimes for them because you guarantee success. That's freaking nuts. Okay, I wish they kept that Calculator. That could have been an even bigger threat than Darkseid if he kept going at it like that. This is why I'm the hero, because I would be unstoppable as a villain. Penultimately, in at number 2, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster that is an evil combination of Batman and the Flash, which already sounds terrifying, but wait until you hear the story. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but because, you know, of course, Robins kept dying left, right, and center. So, understandably, Batman got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his methods. He started killing people, which honestly seems more realistic to me, aside from just like being done fighting crime totally, which can't happen, otherwise they wouldn't have a story, right? This eventually leads him to Barry, who refuses to give Bruce his Speed Force powers, understandably because again, this time Batman's a psycho. So, Batman, using the various rogues' weapons to fight Barry, knocks him out. Once Barry was unconscious, Bruce tied him to the front of a cosmic treadmill modified Batmobile, I don't know how the hell he did that, and then drives them both into the Speed Force. Again, I don't know how that happened or works logically, but okay. You do you, Bat Marty. We gotta get Back to the Future, your kids are in danger. When entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce again somehow ended up fusing together into an evil Batman with super speed and a lust for killing. And while Barry's mind was trapped inside Bruce's body, so he could just watch. He then gets a visit from the Batman Who Laughs, who was part of the Dark Knights and whose goal was conquering the multiverse, and since he was a version of Batman who was psycho, he was like, hey you, come here, come with me, we're the same kind of. And finally, in number 1, Black Lantern Reverse Flash. The Black Lantern Corps is a group of various dead superheroes and villains alike who were raised by Nekron and each given a Black Lantern ring. This ring grants them power over death, and these rings are powered by the Anti-Monitor, as he is present within the Black Lantern power battery. Those raised by the Black Lantern ring are in essence resurrected to where they were before death, but their mind is warped to serve Nekron's purpose. Now they aren't really like fully resurrected, but that's kind of like the best analogy that we have. Those with the ring have various powers, including a healing factor, aura recognition, which allows them to see powerful emotions, energy spectrum assimilation, which lets them extract the hearts of individuals they've slain, and use their last feelings to charge the central battery and their ring by 0.01%, because you know that's a lot, it's worth it. And they, much like zombies, can infect others by biting them. A bite from a Black Lantern will slowly kill the one bitten, and then turn them into a Black Lantern upon death. Yeah, basically zombies with superpowers, so definitely not something to laugh at, especially when it's the man who killed Barry Allen's mother for the fun of it.